In the last few episodes, we've looked at new homes that have been built with sustainable principles incorporated from the start. Now, starting from a blank page certainly has its advantages. But what are the particular challenges we face when we want to renovate sustainably? My guest tonight is sustainability coach Michael Mobbs. His own experience of renovating a Sydney inner-city terrace became the subject of his best-selling book, Sustainable House. Now, Michael, it's been almost 15 years since you embarked on your groundbreaking project. What changes have you witnessed over the years?
I think the biggest thing has been the amount of information. There are web pages, books, TV shows. There's just an abundance of information now.
Now, we hear the word sustainability every day. I mean, what's your definition of sustainability? Well,
as far as a house goes, it's a house that gets its water from the roof and its energy from the sun and reuses the sewage. So it, in a sense, lives like a tree. A tree can't go shopping for energy and water, and that's how a house that is sustainable is.
Now, you also had some principles that guided your choice of materials when you were putting together your renovation. So what did you do?
Well, I got only Australian timber. I got only timber that was grown in plantations, and I used materials that weren't toxic so that when we're in the house it was a healthy place to be.
And what are the major changes that you made during the renovation?
Well, we took a little 19th century terrace house in the centre of Sydney and we made it so that we had a rainwater tank for our water. We had a sewage system for all our sewage so we could reuse that to flush the toilet, wash the clothes and hose the garden. And we put solar panels on the roof that got the sun's light and turned it into electricity.
Now, most of the initiatives, I can deal with those, but the reuse of sewage, that's hard to come to terms with, not just me, but other people. Is on-site sewage safe? And how's it done? How did you do it?
It is a tough thing. I think it's hard for us to contemplate using our excreta for washing our clothes, and I understand that. But it's actually something that's commonly done. There are 2 million Australians who drink rainwater every day, and there are at least as many Australians who reuse their sewage for gardening outside the cities. It's just that it's very unusual to do it inside cities. And I mean, when my kids flush the toilet or when guests flush the toilet, you know no difference.
The Americans use it, don't they? I mean, you know, there's a high percentage of American homes that use their sewage systems. Yeah.
Yeah, there's about 60 million Americans who have on-site sewage, and over 37% of new housing in America has on-site sewage. So that's 3 times the Australian population doing what I'm doing in America.
Well, that's an incentive for us, isn't it, to catch up with the Americans. Now, you said yourself that there is a lot more information available to people now than when you were doing your renovation. Presumably, there have also been some great product improvements too. So what are some of the innovations you've seen hit the market, Michael?
Actually, that's a good point. Just listening to us talk now, I think there's an amazing number of rain tank companies, energy efficient light bulbs, all sorts of solar panels, all sorts of materials. And you can, when you drive about in the city, you'll see trucks and vans with these products on them. So I would say everything that I did that was new is now commonplace across Australia.
Well, thank goodness you came along, because you sort of set it up for everybody else. But there are challenges still. What do you think is the most challenging area of renovation for consumers? And what are the things that are hard to do or hard to find out about?
This is a chance for me to get warmed up. I find it really tough dealing with councils. They just are very difficult to get approvals for new products and materials and systems. You need a sense of humour and a bit of patience.
And what about water tanks, for example, with councils, or the sewerage systems that you've talked about? Are councils au fait with them? Do they not understand it? What about plumbers, builders, those sorts of people?
It's amazing, you know. So when I did the house, the Premier launched it and said councils should copy this. But you can still have a situation where outside a council area, a city, in the country, somebody might be using rainwater, but as soon as those same people move into the city, they get all these sorts of barriers and they're prevented from using rainwater in the city. Councils are quite conservative when it comes to using rainwater for drinking and for reusing sewage. right across Australia.
Well, maybe we need to just keep going to them over and over again. Now, your home was completed in 1996 and the features are still not commonplace yet. I mean, people can see the home for themselves. You still have open home visits from time to time and you've now introduced overnight stays, I believe.
Well, I had 17,000 people through the house and I'm a slow learner and I decided to give my life back and stop that. But one thing that struck me was the number of people who found it very empowering, whether they were architects or engineers or just ordinary folk like me. They said, this is such an ordinary house. So I decided to have a homestay where somebody could come from anybody and just, in a sense, smell the hummus, drink the rainwater, flush the toilet. And it's amazing. People come there and they say, it's just an ordinary house. It's a really empowering thing for builders, designers and other people who want to look at this to do.